ultimately we are all here to support each other. And how can we support each other and love each other if we don't know what the other person is going through? Hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, I'm Natalie, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a different video, and I'm just going to be having a little unscripted chat with you guys. I will warn you that I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but I'm going to do the best I can. Just going to try to share what's in my mind and in my heart. But today's topic came from church today, actually, because we were talking about socially acceptable and socially unacceptable challenges. The lady who was teaching it started off by sharing two really hard things that she's been through. And one of them was having an illness and basically having to stay in the hospital for a while her kids were still at home and she couldn't do anything to take care of them. And she was saying how people in the church just flooded her with support and, brought food, watched her kids, whatever she needed them to do. And then the second one she shared was going through postpartum depression and how no one really knew what she was going through. So she didn't really get support through that. But she feels like that was the one where really she needed more support. And so she was saying how she's been thinking about the difference between those two things. Like, why for one of them did she get so much support and feel like, miraculously blessed, and the other one she didn't. And the conclusion she came to was basically her being in the hospital for illness was a socially acceptable challenge, whereas going through postpartum depression was a less socially acceptable challenge or something that people couldn't really see. And it wasn't necessarily their faults because they just didn't know. Nonetheless, it was something that she needed support during. Some more acceptable challenges, I'd say, are normally physical ones or ones that you can see, someone, having a lifelong illness or getting sick or someone close to you dying. I feel like things that you can see and know that are going on, and those are ones that if they happened to you, you'd email your boss and be like, sorry, I can't come into work today. This happened. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Whereas the less socially or the socially unacceptable challenges are ones like addiction. Mental illness is a huge one. Financial struggles. We were saying within the church, it could be faith struggles or your testimonies wavering. And when people were calling out these ones that were considered socially unacceptable, I myself, whenever anyone said, basically any of them was like, oh yeah, that is so true. Like, those are things that I struggle with that I probably wouldn't talk about very much. And the question is, why? Why, if basically everyone in the world is going through at least one of these, or will at some point in their life, or know someone who is, why is it not something that we talk about? And I think it's kind of just how society is right now. It's kind of how we grow up and we're taught to not really, even if no one explicitly says it, it's one of those things that we just know, oh, we shouldn't really talk about that with people. Or that's something that I should keep to myself. And I'm not saying that you should, shout it from the rooftops or that you should, just share it with the first person you see. But I do think that these things are talked about way less than they should be. Because I believe that ultimately we are all here to support each other. And how can we support each other and love each other if we don't know what the other person is going through, or if we don't let them know what we're going through? Because not talking about them, saying we shouldn't talk about them, does not make them go away at all. In fact, it probably makes them worse. And so while I don't necessarily have an answer to how to solve this problem or how we can suddenly make it acceptable, I think that a start is just us choosing to be a little vulnerable and to share the socially unacceptable challenges that we are going through. I mean, we should be loving people regardless of whether or not we know what they're going through. But I do think that understanding more of where they're coming from and more of what's going on in their lives and how they're feeling can help us relate to them more and help us love them more and can help us allow other people to love us more. And when I think about the times that I felt the most connected and the most heard and the most related to, those were times when either I was choosing to be vulnerable with someone and they were really listening, or someone else was being vulnerable and I was hearing what they were saying, or we were both being vulnerable. So even though it is definitely an uncomfortable thing, it's very important. Speaking from my own experience, mental illness can feel very lonely and very isolating. And so those times when I have heard people talk about, either online or at church about the anxiety or the depression or other mental illnesses or mental challenges that they're facing, that is what makes me feel seen. And that's what makes me feel like people can really understand me and like there's hope. And so yeah, I think it's important to let down our walls a little bit and be more willing to share with people. Or, it can be little things. Like something I'm kind of trying to work on is when people ask how I'm doing, instead of that like automatic response, to just say, oh, I'm doing well, which literally is an automatic response for me. So yeah, something I'm working on. Like maybe not some random person I'm passing by, or someone that I don't really want to talk to about it, but people who are my friends or people I know genuinely care about me, if they say, how are you doing, instead of automatically just being like, oh, I'm doing great, or I'm doing well, how about you? I'll say, oh, today's been a little harder for me, but it's getting better. Or this past week has been rough, but I'm getting through it. Or something like that. And see, I don't know if you noticed, but even my automatic response at the end of that is to try like make it okay and be like, oh, but I'm okay. I don't even know if that's maybe the best thing that you should say. But doing small things like that, or something we talk about in church a lot is ministering and doing service for one another. And how if someone asks you if you need help, then you should tell them if you need help. You shouldn't just be like, oh no, everything is going well, I don't need anything, thank you for offering. Because the thing is, most of the time, if they're offering to help you, they genuinely want to help you and they want to be there for you and they want to support you. And while it can be vulnerable to say, yeah, I'm not okay, I need help from you, what is the worst thing that can happen? They offered and then they said, oh, no, actually, I didn't mean it. For one, I think that's unlikely. And for two, that's probably the worst case scenario that could happen. So yeah, not to like trauma dump or anything, but I am going to start off by sharing some things that I go through that may not be, super socially acceptable, because if I'm saying that you guys should do it, then I need to do it too. So this is so awkward to just tell to a camera. Anyway, but yeah, I have social anxiety, and it makes a lot of things hard that for other people, they just do on a daily basis and do not have a problem with. Like, overthinking about what other people think about me when I go to the grocery store and I'm checking out. Or it can make classes hard. It especially makes presentations and talks hard. Going to church sometimes is even really hard. Like sometimes when I show up to church by myself, I get anxious. Or if there are ward events where there's a lot of socializing involved, that brings me a lot of anxiety. And that's not something I normally tell people. Because what I feel is expected is for me to go and have a good time and act like there is no discomfort. But something that I'm trying to work on is telling people that I'm going with, hey, this is something that's really hard for me, so I would appreciate if you support me. Or just so you know, I may not be super chatty or I may leave early because this situation makes me uncomfortable. Other things, I have ADHD, and that is not always the most fun either, because while there are some positive things that can come from that, it also can make school really hard and bring a lot of additional stress. And not even just school, also in my daily life and just being an adult. Anyway, those are just a couple things. I'm not going to share, every single thing I struggle with that I don't want to talk about. But I hope that we can, through choosing to share and choosing to listen to other people and choosing to respect and empathize with what they say, that we can make the community we're in and the society we're in a more understanding one, and one where there aren't socially unacceptable challenges. Because wouldn't it be amazing if we lived in a world where we could all share with each other what we're going through and feel loved and supported and helped through it? And if you don't feel like you're ready to share with people, maybe for now, just brainstorm some small ways that you could do it. Or on the opposite end, if someone chooses to be vulnerable with you and chooses to share hard things they're going through with you, be there for them and really listen to them and let them know that it was a hard thing for them to do, but that you appreciate them coming to you and that you find it brave, or you're proud of them, or, whatever else works in that context. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say about this topic. Thank you guys so much for listening if you made it this far. I've been thinking about why I have this channel and what I want to say with it and what its purpose is. And I love the videos that I've been putting out recently, but I also feel like it's really important for me to share the things that are important to me. And I don't necessarily think that anything I say is going to be a novel idea or that I'm going to say it better than anyone else could say it. But I'm here and I want to say it, so I'm going to say it. And yeah, I would love to continue doing these chats just based on some ideas that I've had so far. Probably a lot of them will focus on mental health, on perfectionism, on a lot of the societal standards that are placed on us that maybe we should not be listening to or following, self-worth, a lot of things like that. So hopefully this video, helped or made you feel seen, or helps you help someone else feel seen in some way. But if you have any additional thoughts that you want to add, any ways that you can think of that we can be more vulnerable within our communities, or, you know, change the societal standard of socially acceptable, please put it in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.